My name is Margaret Ann Windsor, and I was kidnapped from Buckingham Palace in 1941 at age 2. I was born in 39, and I was brought to Moulton, Alabama, given the name of a twin, Peggy and Dempsey. I married a Childers, and I still have to use that name. In 1983, I found out about my kidnapping and who my parents are, and the fact that Peggy and Carl were twins, and Carl had been murdered. They were born out of wedlock in Moulton, Alabama, way out in the country, and they were murdered by their mother, Lina. I'm going to show you photos in a minute, and later the family covered it up, and later, just before I was kidnapped, Peggy, the one that they stole my identity and gave me hers, was fed to the pigs, and they eat her up. That's what they did. There had to be a collusion here because the Illuminati, and my uncle was part of it, the illegal George VI, Elizabeth's father. And Elizabeth remembers all this. I lived in Buckingham Palace because the day I was born, Victoria II, it moved me back into I'm the monarch. My father abdicated not to marry Wallace Simpson. That's the biggest plot and takedown in history. My father married Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, sister to artist Georgia O'Keefe. Here's Georgia, the artist. And I want to mention here, this is the genealogy of the O'Keefes. Specifically Natalie. Anita, Natalie, she married Robert Young. This is my dad, King Edward VIII. This is my uncle, George, illegal VI, Elizabeth's father. All that lineage is a joke, a sick joke, and illegal. They should be prosecuted. This is Roosevelt, and this is who's called the Queen Mom, Elizabeth's mother. She was a Rothschild, and she was very much into what happened to me and my father. She should have been charged with war crimes, and all these should. This is Uncle George. In 1939, they're planning my kidnapping. That's when I was born. And this is Eleanor Roosevelt, 1939. Now, there's a reason for the Natalie there. I wanted to put that. This is pictures of me when I was brought over here. And I think this is me. I'm not sure with George. Not sure. I think that's me, not the real Peggy. This is me in high school. And that's the family there. And George is saying that, well, I wasn't born yet. I wasn't brought here yet. And I wasn't born yet. This is me in 1943. I was brought here in 41. That's that family that's dressed up. They weren't normally dressed like that at all. This is Lina, mother of the twins. This is Matthew, James Matthew, and I want to mention him, Dempsey, the only boy in that family, and I want to mention him again in a minute. This is Irvin Nix and his wife, Tressie, here. And I have a point to that, okay, that I'm going to make, I hope, on here. This is Wallace Simpson and the double. She never married my dad. There were doubles used. In 1937, they became the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, an illegal title. My father was married to my mom, Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, Windsor. She was the Queen of England. And he abdicated, and he had an addendum that said if he had an heir, the heir would inherit it, would not disinherit the heir from becoming the monarch. And I want to remind you, this was a plot by the Illuminati, Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers, the Jews, my own Uncle George VI, and the blessed Kennedy clan that can do no wrong. JFK helped in my kidnapping and bringing me over to Moulton. So who all got into killing the twins? They didn't care about me except for the money and power it gave them. But anyway, I wanted to get to this because I put a video up yesterday, and I had the wrong dates. I'm tired, and I've had so many videos put up, and you facing it doesn't seem to do me any good. I can't get an attorney. But recently, well, this weekend on History and on NBC and all of them are carried about the Amelia Earhart. And everybody knows that they were talking about the photo that was taken on the Marshall Islands recently, that they're saying she was held by the, not Germans, everything's been blamed on the Germans, not the real culprits, the Americans. But anyway, the Japanese on the islands then. Well, they showed a picture of Amelia and her navigator there, and Sean Henry, ex-FBI, was one that, a part of the facial recognition. They have all kinds now to tell who's who. So they've always known, people have. This is my father, Edward VIII, abdicating December of 36. Not to marry this woman is such a hideous crime. Wallace, she married doubles. So my point here is anybody, I found out, the Brits told me, could have gone back. They do not want to print it. The people that control the press are the people that kidnapped me. I did want to mention this, and I'm not sure, yesterday I put this up. I had a photo, and it came from this gallery, Burton Morgan, I believe, Pictorial Parade, came from this book. Laura, she was a friend way back then, so would be an old small book of Georgia O'Keeffe, my aunt. But anyway, the reason I put this up, and I may have had the wrong date or time, the picture I had of Anita Natalie O'Keeffe Young, my aunt, sister to my mom, and to Georgia, my aunt, it was taken, and it looked like Anita, my aunt, was sitting at the table there, and it was her posturing. It was taken at the exact right time, because there sat Wallace Simpson. Looked like she just sat down and my aunt had turned away from her, and you could tell by the expression she was upset. It's like flaunting Wallace Simpson, spy who married a double, an imposter, and helped take out my mom and dad, their identity, and then mine, was flaunting it by sitting down at the table with my aunt Anita. Now, this is here, that photo was gone. This is one March of 1955 at West Palm Beach Polo Club. And that's the Duke and Duchess of Windsor there, and they're illegal. They're spies, and that's exactly it. It's a double. And she's an American spy. Okay, the photo, I believe, that was taken from my photos that happened, it's similar to this one. It said it was taken where my aunt is turned away from Wallace. Looks like she just sit down there flaunting it in my aunt's face, that she can sit by my aunt, who's sister to my mom, who's married to my dad, the King of England, and hear this, you call her what she is in this whole mess, the people who are criminals. Anyway, I don't know that this was in 1955 that I quoted where this happened, where Natalie was sitting there and Wallace sat down beside her. That one said it was it might have said Palm Springs Polo Club. I'm not sure. So I wanted, and so therefore the date would probably be 53, or it may be the same place and year that Wallace was there, and my aunt, I don't know, but there was that photo of my aunt and Wallace flaunting it, what they could do. This is Eleanor Roosevelt, and Roosevelt appointed Joe Kennedy ambassador to England 36 to 46. JFK, the Kennedys, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, my own uncle, Elizabeth's father, illegal, my own uncle, helped take down his own brother. Here's Wallace Simpson in 1941 and she's shaking hands with Mrs. Roosevelt. They're bosom buddies, congratulating each other on my kidnapping. So they'd taken me out. It put a flaw when I was born. My father and mother were both older, and I guess they didn't expect him to have an heir. So here's just the pictures that they could have taken and show. They've always known that that wasn't my father. There's plenty of them. I can't pull them all out right now, but it's hard to believe that such a crime could be allowed to go on. Now, I want to get to this other thing. I was talking about Earhart. Well, this was Sunday night. It was on TV about, I'm going to turn this around if I can, about Amelia Earhart and the new photos that they found, and claiming that Japanese kidnapped her or found them out in the ocean and kept her there on one of the islands till she died, and the navigator. And Sean Henry, the ex-FBI, has confirmed he thinks, after all the studies he's done, that it really was Amelia Earhart. So they're talking about the United States and History Channel, that's the greatest crime, and it's solved now in American history. I've been here for 76 years. Kidnapped. My father's Edward VIII. You took him down with the biggest lies. The money, the technology, the theft that poured into this country because of that crime is so hideous. And if it's ever told what was done to my sons here and me, I have only told part of it. And I hope and pray to God that it is, because it's not okay. And that's how it's been handled. That if I, after getting all the information that nobody could dispute, and I was in a campaign and flown out to Larry Flint's in '83 because I'd written a medical malpractice book about doctors, MD a License to Kill. It was about programming and mind control, and Larry Flint was shot in Lawrenceville in '78 while I was doing the book. So I showed that because people know who Larry Flint is, and Hustler magazine. He says, I know who was responsible for his shooting right there. I think I got it on. But anyway, let me go to this. So there's been plenty of technology now. DNA, I was told by the Brits, and I know when the Dempsey family have finally had to admit what's left of them, they were guilty of crimes of cover-up, much less what they did to me. I want to get this on, so I'm going to, it's when I found out they tried to kill me again. It's how. The Dempseys even did. And then there was too much up, and they knew that there was, I had a letter from the FBI, ongoing investigation, national security involved, back in June the 23rd of 1979. And I was almost killed, I don't know how many times, but it was on April Fool's Day of '80. Nobody's ever touched that. The other thing I wanted to mention was on the History Channel. I'm going to check and see if this is still going up, okay? It's going up. I hope it doesn't mess it up. The History Channel just before Amelia Earhart. By the way, I did want to mention this. They said the Japanese had Amelia Earhart, and she was kept in a prison camp as a prisoner till she died there. I want to remind you, this was in '37. My dad had abdicated, a forced abdication, so December of '36, and not to marry Wallace Simpson. She married a double in '37, and my uncle became the illegal monarch in '37. So it's just a coincidence that the Japanese were supposed to have found her. But I wanted to make that up because there's so much that comes together in all this that you wonder, you have to wonder about it. Too much to all of it to be coincidences, if it was predestined or something. Anyway, the Japanese, I want to bring this fast forward. I showed you Matthew Dempsey. He retired from the U.S. Army as, I I've forgotten he had a title. I can't think right at the moment. Anyway, he's retired from the U.S. Army, and I don't know how old I was. When he first joined the Army, he came back, and that had to have been about 1945, I think. So I was what, born in 39, 45. He took a video. He had a little camera and took a picture video of me. Now then I want to fast forward to where he's back, and they live in Moulton for a while. Well, Matthew didn't. He came by and visited the Nixes. I showed their picture, Irvin and Tressie Nix. Tressie's one of the sisters to Lina. And while there, they showed this video of me up on the wall. It was an old, this is way back then. They showed the video, and it was, Matthew said, he said that he showed it when he was overseas, and that there were two Japanese, I think they had I don't know, the officials that came to him and wanted him to come in the back and wanted to see the video, and he did. Now then he's back here, that they were interested in it. So he came here, back to Moulton, and this is about 40, I don't know, 45, 47 that was shown to me and the rest of the family there at the Nixes by Matthew. And Matthew's the son of Lina, Dempsey, and Tressie and all that. So now then, a little bit later, that video goes missing. My point is that it seems with me telling all this and finding out who my father is, and the fact that the United States used my kidnapping and a monarch, brought me over here and did the horrible crimes to me and still ongoing, and to my children, and pretend to say that Great Britain's their ally. They took over. They used us they invaded us, and that's all I'm going to say here. Any fool can look at what's happened in history and know. So the other thing that I want to say is I think the Japanese, looking back, knowing what I know now, I think they actually tried to help me and my dad and Mom. Now I wanted to go to, I said that about Anita Natalie, my aunt. I came to Charlottesville, Virginia. Roanoke's near there, about 60 miles south, I guess. But I had a car furnished by Hustler for about a year, leased to me. In May of 84, what are the chances of all this being, had found out that I'm the monarch, Windsor, and that, I'm kin to Tsar Nicholas, same as Elizabeth is. Tsar Nicholas was my cousin. Now then, I'm going through Charlottesville, and on the radio, May the 4th, it was on a Sunday, May the 4th of 84, that they said that Anastasia had died. Well, I had papers, and I put all this up. I don't have the court papers anymore, but anybody should be able to. They wouldn't print them. I took them to everybody, and this is court papers. Anastasia was murdered at the mental health facility, Blue Ridge, at Charlottesville, and it was a lie about it, and this was Anastasia. So I could put more here, but I don't have room, and I already have. So she was murdered, and she's my cousin. She lived at Scottsville, just outside. They had a farm out there. Her husband was Professor Monahan at the University of Virginia. Now, I've said that. What are the chances of me coming here and the timing and ending up living here? Because had I gotten together with her